Hi guys, gals, non-binary fellas, and all my friends and folks out there. Welcome back to another Hopes Loves Talks. So I know it's been a while since you've seen me. If you've at least, gone up on my YouTube, you should know, on our channel, what's pretty much been going on, what's happening, or if you stay up to date with my other podcast, which was 101 ways to do something better, but is now known as the offload. You would know why I disappeared for a while. Really, I disappeared for a while because I think I totally forgot what this podcast was about. Getting caught up in small and even bigger moments. I've kind of lost the format of the podcast, and it's probably the reason why I haven't found time to do it, because I just don't know what to do on it. And now that I do, it makes sense how I just come and I get pulled right back into it. So, that's basically the quick little explanation for it. If you want to know all of the details, of course, you could just go and check out my other podcast, because that's definitely where all of it is, or just go on some Concept with Me's from our channel on the tube, and piece things together. Of course, rights also go to YouTube as well as me now, but otherwise than that, let's get started. So, today and for the next couple of weeks, we're going to start talking about world building again. Which, of course, I did exactly around, not exactly, but around this time last year. And it was all about talking about POVs and perspectives and how that goes into characters and overviews and points of the story, and how that's really important to world building. And we did slightly talk on, touch on some things and talk about things like tropism and stereotyping, which is going to be really, really big in this, exit in lessons of world building for all of us. But we really didn't hone in on those things. And those are also some pretty key things that as writers, as creators, as singers, as people in general, we want to know how. We want to know why. We want to know what. We want to know when. And to every creative out there, we all know that the word tropism and stereotypes is a word that literally gets us feeling uneasy inside, just because you never want to have a character or a song or even an essay or a story or someone in a book / play, fic, light read, manga, comic, so on and so forth. Even an edit can off as being such a stereotype, or playing into this trope and playing into that trope. And we talked about how the real way to avoid tropism is by including tropism and just into how the character is. And obviously, of course, I explained this as last year, that when we go into tropism with many types, sure, this person does this thing and they feel this way about it, but we need to give some depth to their perspective. It was all about perspective and how tropism really, really works from the point of POV. And we haven't actually really gotten into how do you avoid the uninevitable? How do you avoid the unavoidable? And literally every single creator, trust me, my friends, every single one of us can be afraid of tropism. And I have started building new characters of my own for myself and for my whole entire audience, which is you, especially if you read Unseen and Focus, which is in a clean fanfic series, and yes, rights go to their respective owners, as well as me. But yeah, so if you've been on that journey with me, I've been creating some new characters, and I'm going to start putting them into the story, because they're not really new characters for the story, just new characters to the audience. And they play some pretty small and large roles. So working that all out has taken time, just being me with these characters and getting inside the heads of these characters and learning POV. Yeah, maybe so, but I don't really have an issue with POV anymore. I don't struggle with writing in a character's point of view, because I understand how they are. I can mean the character because I can relate to the character and I can understand them, and I can do that with every single character, and I understand that the struggle is real. And just like that, I apply that to real life. And I guess not to really say that it's not real, because it is, but I apply that to other areas of my life with tons of people, with everyone and everything, because when you do that, it just makes life so much easier. But we never really talked about tropism as a whole and as a thing, and really just how to build your characters. And that is such an important thing when it comes down to world building. It's something that we really, really need. And of course, when I say the word tropism, so many things can come to mind. Think about it. What comes to your mind when I say tropism? I don't know about you, but for me, and if you need more time, you can pause, of course. When I think of tropism, I think of 5 things. First, of course, I think about characters and characteristics and character types. Second of all, I think of stereotypes and all of the types of stereotypes, and I also think of cliques and social hierarchy and how that plays into it. Fourth, I finally think about types of stories and, really what genre they're in. And of course, fifth, I think of other tropes that are basically very implied in the story, like relationship tropes, enemies to lovers, friends to enemies, rivals to lovers, tons and tons of other things, and very situational use. But for some weird reason, we're not really concerned with the last 2. And if not in some ways 3, because we ignore the third one with the second one a lot more than we mean to. We're just more concerned with tropes when it comes down to characters. Because as creators, we have our own story. We do our own things. And yeah, sure, there's always a less for a good enemy to lover story. There's always a need, any want, a desire for the wholesome, cute, coffee AU story. But we're not really concerned about relationship types anymore. Especially because those are the things that come to mind when we think of POV. When we think about tropism, when we think about tropes, really, even though those last 2/3 could be counted as tropes, we as the viewer and as the majority of people don't actually widely see them as tropes and just kind of accept them as situational IUs. That happen a lot. And so even when we watch videos that label them as another name for such, and when we only describe them in another way of troping, we just think, oh yeah, but still, even though it's there at the back of our brain, we always think situational IU. And of course, we all know we think that because it's a POV. Those quote-unquote tropes. I mean, the story could be taken in many different ways, but for us creatives, for us authors, really, for us formers and makers of our worlds and these worlds, we just see them as point of views and perspectives of looking at things, because perspectives directly correlate down to characters and characters' relationships. But getting into your character's head is not the only thing we need to do when it comes down to world building. We need to break down how to make characters in this wider world of world building. So, on this podcast, for this series of shows, we're gonna be doing this. And I don't know how many of these, of course, we're gonna make, but we're gonna make them. We're gonna get better at doing the do, and we're just gonna figure out how this all goes. Me, you, your best bud, everyone here, all of us as living things, we're all just gonna sit down, chat about it, and figure it out. Because tropism isn't some plague to creativity. It's not, you know? Tropism is a way of categorizing things. And we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about living. And we're going to talk about being. And we're going to get to know all of those things within talking about tropism and talking about life and living. So, you know if you know. And just think about that. Just think about it. It could be over a day, a week, a weekend, a month. However long you need to sit with that. Let it sit. Let it settle. Let it boil those thoughts in your brain. Tropism. Building characters. World building. All of it. Not just explained, but taught together in an open classroom with me, you, everybody, your friends. It's just a workshop, but so much more than that. Yeah, it's a conversation on both ends.